Welcome to another episode of The Dissection. In the last episode, I told you that Vusi Matlala was the small guy in the Hosh syndicate and this Hosh curry enterprise. There are bigger fish in this pond, and one in particular is of great interest. In fact, it's so amazing because since I made that last episode on Wednesday, so much has happened in respect to this particular individual, just in the media reporting. I don't know if they watched my episode and then made developments happen, or if those were going to happen, it was just coincidence. But there is a man whose full picture we don't even have. I mean, you can look at all of the Googles, the encyclopedias, the Instagrams. There is no picture of this man. I actually had to ask ChatGPT and Grok to make an image based on side profiles and little drawings that exist of his representation or image. This is what ChatGPT thinks he looks like. It's actually quite curious that with all these media houses, ENCA, Newsroom Africa, Business Day, Daily Maverick, Amabungani, and these NGOs like Corruption Watch, all of those were involved in selling us the dream of a new dawn. All of those media publications which were very earnest in getting the Guptas to be held to account and speaking about state capture, they have not been able to give us a picture or a video of this man. So interesting. I mean, do you remember Kulubuse Zuma? He is the nephew of Jacob Zuma. And in the Zuma years, his photo was everywhere. The media took time to make his name and his businesses famous, one of which I think was Aurora Mine. So how come the media hasn't been able to do the same about this particular man, who seems to me to be one of the senior people in all of these shenanigans we've been hearing about? He seems to be significantly senior. So who is this man? His name is Hangwani Morgan Maumela, and he is the nephew of Cyril Ramaphosa through his first marriage. That's important. This connection is potentially, I think, the reason why the media is not so enthusiastic to talk about him. The president himself has said he does not know Hangwani Maumela, and that may very well be true. But one of the people very close to the president knows him quite well, that man being Benjani Chao. And that's according to the reporting from News 24. In this video, I'm going to use some information from this book here, The Shadow State by Jeff Weeks. And it covers a lot of why certain things have been happening and gives some theories as to who are the people who have been involved in those things. So today we're talking about Hangwani Morgan Maumela. Some key background that you need to keep in mind. Cyril Ramaphosa was married to Hope Mudau in 1978. And Basil Mudau is Hope Mudau's brother. Okay? So remember that. Cyril Ramaphosa was married to Hope Mudau in 1978, and Basil Mudau is Hope Mudau's brother. Now, Hangwani Morgan Maumela, aged 41 at the time of this recording, he is in the business of government tenders. One of his biggest clients, where his company's made over 400 million rands, is the Tembisa hospital where Babita Deokaran worked and the reason why she was assassinated for stopping some payments which she identified as suspicious payments to companies which included 9 companies which were owned by Morgan Maumela. So his father is Basil Mudau. Remember, Cyril Ramaphosa was married to Hope Mudau in 1978. Basil Mudau is Hope Mudau's brother. And Basil Mudau is the father of Morgan Maumela. His mother is Mboneni Maumela. And she's a very interesting character in all of this because it seems as if she taught him the game and that they are still in business together to this day. His mother was a director at the Limpopo Health Department, and she worked there for 2 decades, from 2001 up until 2021. And she apparently is a very wealthy woman, according to the reports. So my theory, and having read up on this scandal, it seems as if that she's the one who taught him the tender game in Limpopo, and that her son then took the business model to Gauteng and potentially to other places, because we don't actually know how extensive Morgan Maumela's empire is, even with all of the developments that have played out. So according to his father, on page 164 of this book right here. I'm even giving you page references. If you get the book, just skip to page 164. You'll get some of the tea. According to his father on page 164, Morgan Maumela started working in Polokwane doing tenders. The book says that he then became an influential figure at Tembisa Hospital in respect to the supply chain. A source at the hospital told Jeff Wicks that he was always at the hospital, that he was often spotted at the supply chain management offices, that Hangwani was the one who seemed to be the Don operating at the hospital. The report indicates that he supplied the Tembisa hospital from 2018 up until much later when Babita stopped the payments. And if you think about 2018, that's about the time when Cyril Ramaphosa came into power. Think about it. He wasn't supplying them in 2017. He rose at around about the same time that President Cyril Ramaphosa rose. So part of the theories around this is that he may have been using the president's name and his family connection without necessarily people higher up knowing. The other theory is that actually people higher up would have known what he was up to and what he was doing. It's very unlikely that people higher up would not have come across somebody using, his connection or proximity to a particular surname or using that surname to get political favors and connections. So, that's still out for the jury to determine in terms of the commission, the ad hoc committee. Maybe they will get to the bottom of how exactly did Morgan Maumela become the tender Don at Tembisa Hospital in 2018? What would have made him have authority to go to the supply chain management office and dictate orders and say, this is who must get a contract, this is who mustn't get a contract, etc.? So according to the research, the reporting, the book, it seems as if a large part of the wealth that Morgan Maumela accumulated came from the Gauteng Department of Health hospitals. Right? It's not just the Tembisa hospital. It seems as if he was also doing Hosh behavior with other hospitals. That wealth that he accumulated was then managed through a family trust. So there's a family trust which is known as the MHR Maumela Family Trust. That MHR stands for Mboneni, his mother's name, Hangwani, his name, Rumani. So it's mother, son, and sister. So Rumani is the sister. And the trust was founded in 2016, before the mother actually left Limpopo Department of Health. From 2018, the trust was buying properties in premium locations in South Africa. In 2018, they bought a mansion for 32 million rands in Camps Bay. In 2020, they bought another mansion for 75 million rands in Bantry Bay. There's no year specified here. They bought a Peaconwood estate in the northwest. This is a property in Peaconwood estate for 13.5 million. They bought a property for 13 million in Hurlingham Sandton in Johannesburg. They bought a 16 million stand in Oxford Avenue in Sandton. Then there's a Hyde Park villa which cost 25 million rands. And that Hyde Park villa was actually profiled on Top Billing in 2019, and you can still find the video on YouTube, right? Then they bought 2 beachfront homes at Zimbali Country Club, 35 million rands each. We're going to talk more about those Palito beachfront homes, 35 million rands, 70 million for a stand in Sandton, a different stand, 30 million for 2 adjoining flats in Sea Point. The total value of the real estate empire of the MHR Trust is 310 million. So for me, when I think about all of the properties and the property valuation that I just spoke about, it seems to me that there's much more that he got than the 310 million, because he wasn't just getting money and buying property. Those properties would have to be furnished. There's a whole lifestyle that you'd have to be living. There's a whole Hosh Karimama that he has. He's got a serious Hosh Karimama. This man who hangs around with other Hosh Karimamas who you've seen before. So there's all of that, right? So far, I think you are beginning to get that Morgan Maumela is somebody who's been serious in the Hosh curry behavior in Gauteng and in South Africa. But you may be wondering, okay, but what's the connection to Benjani Chao? So on page 161, something happens right at the end. Page 161, let me go there. Something happens right at the end of the chapter, right? So Jeff Wicks says the following: I visited one of his Sandton properties and found a construction site. The multi-story house was clearly going to be massive. I could see as much from the satellite imagery. From the roadway, most of the structure was hidden behind 4-meter-high walls, and the verge was lined with cars as builders and tilers bit a path in and out. I parked a distance away and watched. A black BMW X5 slipped onto an available berth. 2 men in suits got out and walked into the property. 10 minutes later, they returned to the car and left. I hastily scribbled down the registration and sent it to someone who could access INATIS, the National Traffic Database. Turned out, the black BMW was registered to the police and allocated to the Presidential Protection Detail. Turned out, says Jeff Weeks on page 161 of this book, the black BMW was registered to the police and allocated to the Presidential Protection Detail. So Jeff Weeks tells us that he saw this black BMW, it's allocated to the Presidential Detail, and he then makes a connection on page 166 where he says this started indicating the connection with Benjani Chauke, because that's probably a vehicle that was being used by Benjani Chauke. He doesn't speculate that the president was the one in that vehicle, right? And Benjani Chauke is somebody who's connected to President Ramaphosa through the CR17 campaign. He's been reported to be his fixer. He probably deserves his own episode. He's been also implicated in trying to help with the Pala investigations. There's a lot on him. He ran for the NEC of the ANC in the last conference, didn't succeed, but he's one of the people who's viewed to have large amounts of money, who's viewed to be very close to the president, and is somebody who, according to Jeff Weeks, has a strong relationship with Hangwani Morgan Maumela. According to Jeff Weeks, Morgan and Benjani are neighbors in Hyde Park. They have such a strong relationship that Benjani, according to the book, has stayed at the home of Morgan and actually has been so relaxed that he was there with slippers, with his bathrobe on, and he was chilling there. They were having a good time. So in the complex, one of them has the stand number 3 and the other is actually staying on stand number 6. That's how tight they are. They're neighbors, and both of them are staying very close to the president's own house. So that's what the book is suggesting. It's not me saying it. It's Jeff Weeks. It's the News 24. It's what the research is indicating. So it seems there's a very strong relationship with Morgan and Benjani Chauke. And Benjani Chauke was, according to the book, using the president's vehicle or vehicles within the presidential detail to go to the stand. Why was he going to the stand? I think the committee needs to call him in. I think the commission needs to call him in. What is their relationship? Because these things are all connected. Now, there's a connection between Vusi Matlala and Morgan Maumela. And to be honest, it seems as if Vusi was just the muscle. He was the guy who was involved or implicated or would be tasked with dealing with people who are giving these guys problems. That's what it looks like his role was. All of the allegations around him seem as if he was the muscle. So, we've been hearing a lot about the company Cat Protection Services. This was the security company being run by Vusi Matlala. This is the company which was raided by the police and weapons were seized. Weapons, some of which were then linked to several murders. All of the murders we've been hearing about and attempted murders, right? Attempted murders of the taxi boss, Joe Sibanyoni, attempted murders of Teboko Tobejane, murders of DJ, is it Vetis, who was also, killed, and others, right? So this company seems to have been one of the companies which was providing the weapons and sometimes providing the manpower. Overall, Morgan Maumela seems to have been very slick and savvy, based on the fact that there's virtually no footprint of him online. However, in 2017, he made one mistake. And that mistake may be the mistake which will continue to haunt him for a very long time. What was that mistake? It's a mistake that linked him to Vusi Matlala and suggested the nature of their relationship. In 2017, Morgan Maumela was registered as a director for Cat Protection Services right after the company was registered. A few days later, the same notorious company which has been implicated in all of this Hosh curry behavior. I think he realized his mistake because he was quickly removed, or he removed himself as a director within 4 days. But the damage was done and the paper trail was now there and established. Not only is there that paper trail, yesterday there were reports that Bheki Cele and Vusi Matlala actually had a meeting at the Zimbali Lodge home of Morgan Maumela, the same one that I mentioned earlier. The meeting happened on the 18th of March, 2025, few weeks after General Mkhwanazi had gone to Parliament and a month before the 360 million tender was cancelled. So it seems as if News 24 has been getting a lot of information, and maybe they're getting it from the general. I don't know where they're getting it from, but whoever they're getting it from has got the tea, has got the coffee, has got the biscuits, got the whole English breakfast all set up. So WhatsApp messages that were obtained by News 24 revealed that Maumela gave codes, gate entry codes, to Vusi Matlala. And then Vusi Matlala then sent those codes to Bheki Cele to get into the complex on that 18th of March. So they asked him some questions, and Maumela said he had no knowledge of the meeting. He said, "I'm not involved in those police things that are happening. I was never part of any meeting that was held. You can check my records." Please, Mr. Maumela, can you go to Sakina Kamwendo? Please, man. Go to Sakina. Or if you're scared of Sakina, go to Caesar Mpofu Walls. Just go to Caesar Mpofu Walls. He's not gonna choke you. He's gonna ask you some simple questions. You can answer, and we can get to know your side of the story. You don't have to go to the commission. Just go to the SMWX experience. Hey. Go there, man. Go somewhere. If you don't want to go to Sakina, go to SMWX. So he said that he could explain. He said, "I can explain to you how it happened. There was, if you remember, on the 18th of March, a soccer match. Pirates were playing. He said that Vusi Matlala had been in Durban as a football spectator and wanted to book a hotel at Zimbali. I assisted him in getting a code to go inside and book the hotel. I don't know whether he booked," Maumela added. And then he denied having given Matlala the run of either of his Zimbali properties. So News 24 went and checked all that stuff, and they told him, listen, the Pirates game had been played on the 16th in Joburg, and that he had given Matlala access on the Monday. Then he said, no, maybe it was Chiefs. And then they checked. Chiefs had played Richards Bay FC in Umlazi, Durban on the 16th as well, 2 days later. And when he was asked to check his records, he said, my messages from March have been deleted. Baba, you're deleting WhatsApp messages. You're that type of a fellow. Messages set to disappear. What kind of dodgy stuff are you doing if all of your messages are set to disappear or are being deleted? Also, why are you deleting messages when Mkhwanazi is coming? Why are you deleting messages when commission wants messages? What are you fiddling there? What are you hiding, sir? So they also asked Bheki Cele, and Bheki Cele said he had a meeting with Matlala at a house and not a hotel. But he said, I don't know who owns the house. And then he said, I don't know Maumela. We don't have a relationship. So regardless of Bheki Cele's version, we now know that Vusi Matlala and Morgan Maumela are like this. They are like this. Then the question is why? Why? Because now we're clear. There's a relationship between Vusi Matlala and Maumela. There's a relationship between Bheki Cele and Matlala. And I think the relationship with Bheki Cele and Matlala is quite extensive and requires a lot of explanation. But as it pertains to the Don Corleone, the Hosh Don of the Tembisa hospital saga, it seems that Vusi Matlala was providing a function, and that function was muscle. Because Babita didn't just die by accident. There were people who were angry that she had blocked the payments. There were people who were trying to send a message that you can't block our payments. And there were people who were actually trying to kill somebody who could link them to everything. So as things stand, we don't know which people those are. But it's beginning to look like there's some clues as to why Babita had to die, which is the subject matter of this book. You can get it. It's out now at Exclusive Books and a lot of bookstores. You can get it and read it for yourself. I think it's an important book to read. And Jeff Wicks, I want to salute you for having done this work, having told Babita's story. There's so many other people who've lost their lives as a result of trying to expose Hosh curry behavior in the various municipalities and state-owned enterprises. What you've done here is given us a slice of what is happening in the Hosh curry industrial complex. You've exposed some of the Hosh curry behavior. So salute to you. So it looks like here that we now know those things. And the media has to do a better job, really. You can't... News 24 right now is the only publication that seems to be running with the story in a big way. The other publications are really dragging their feet. They're dragging their feet. And I think it may be because this doesn't take us to Paul Mashatile's feet. It doesn't take us to Julius Malema's feet. It doesn't take us to Jacob Zuma's feet. And maybe they are now having cold feet. But please, can you tell us all that you know about Morgan Maumela and Benjani Chao and all of these characters? By the way, I recorded last on Wednesday. And between Wednesday and today, which is Friday, there's been a development. And the development is that Morgan Maumela's properties have been seized by the Asset Forfeiture Unit. 4 Lamborghinis, a variety of cars. But there's no video. There's no footage. Nothing is being shown. Nothing is being publicly revealed. And maybe that's yet to happen. But maybe it'll also be kept under the wraps to reduce the volume on this story. Remember, there's something called manufacturing consent. With Edwin Sodi, they invited journalists to come and see the cars, come and see the house. And we were all able to see and say, oh, so Sodi was living like this. How come with Morgan Maumela we're not getting the same thing? Is it because of all of his connections? Is it because of all of his connections? I don't know. But it's very weird. On a Thursday at about 10 p.m., that's where the statement came out that the Asset Forfeiture Unit had taken these properties worth about 300-something million. So that's one of the developments. The other development, and I'm going to unpack this further, is that Bheki Cele so far is, according to the ad hoc committee, the parliamentary ad hoc committee is blue-ticking them. He's one of the witnesses who's in their first batch, but he has not responded to their correspondence so far. That's something interesting, don't you think? He was saying to the media that he's going to talk in the appropriate forum. But right now, it doesn't seem as if he's willing to talk even to the ad hoc committee. And considering that his name has been coming up quite a bit, I think it's quite strange. I don't know what the committee will do. But yeah, let's leave it there. I'll meet you guys in the comments. Now you know Morgan Hangwani Maumela. Now you know, one of the Hosh dons. He's not a don father or grandfather, I think. I think there's still people higher up than him. But he's one of the big names in all of this. And I think the committee needs to get him. I think the commission needs to get him. If they're sincere about getting to the bottom of this.